Hello, I'm Dale, and I'm at the entrance to the St. Sebastian River Preserve. This is where the Blue Trail is located and the subject of this video. The best way to get to this park if you're coming from out of town is to get off I-95 at exit 156. Travel east towards Sebastian for 1.8 miles, and the park entrance will be on your left. There's no entrance fee to get into the park. The name of the road is WW Ranch Road as you're entering. As you enter the park on the right, you have the aquatic complex. And on the left, you have the North County softball fields. At this point, you're still on a paved road. But as we come around the corner behind the softball fields, the road is no longer paved. So we've passed that sign for the preserve, continuing along this trail, and shortly we're going to come to a kiosk. It's only a few hundred yards past that entrance sign. We're going to park here, and we're going to hopefully pick up a map that's put out by the park showing the Blue Trail and the campsites and the other amenities that are available back here in the park. So right on the front of this kiosk it says interpretive information. And it's also a reminder here that all the parking lots close at sunset. Not sure how that's going to work if you're camping out here. I guess you've got to be an exception if you're camping, because you have to park in the parking lots to be back here while you're camping. On the walls here, or the bulletin boards here, they have information on what you'll find in the waters here, the different endangered species that are here in the park. And this one still refers to it as the St. Sebastian River State Buffer Preserve. It seems like they're doing away with that buffer. I don't hear that anymore, but that's what they used to call this, the buffer preserve. It talks about gopher tortoises, and I have several that live in my yard, and they say there's a lot of them out here. And as many times as I've hiked here, I've yet to see a gopher tortoise. But when I'm pulling in and out of my driveway, I see them in my yard regularly. The park rules are here on the wall as well. Horseback riding, I guess, is fairly popular here. And some rules here on the horseback riding. Also some emergency telephone numbers and the numbers for the park office. The part of this that I find the most interesting for our purposes today is that they have a large map here which shows the buffer preserve. It's geographically divided into 4 sections because I-95 cuts through the buffer preserve here and divides it into an east and west section, and then you have the C-54 canal, which is what happens to the north prong of the Sebastian River here. That divides it into an east and west, more or less giving us 1, 2, 3, 4 quadrants. Now, the entrance that I just described to get to this park is for the southeast quadrant. Here would be 95, exit 156, 512, then you turn left into the park after 1.8 miles. As you drive in here, you will be on this ranch road. You'll come back here and you'll be a short distance and you're at this information kiosk where we are now. We're going to move on down the road to the trailhead shortly, and I'll film that as we get there. All right, traveling from that information kiosk over to the parking lot for the trailhead now. Also very close by is the parking lot for the River Ranch campground, which is the first one that you come to. as you're entering the park. And that also has a short trail that goes over to the Blue Trail there. All right, there's the entrance to the, or the parking area and the entrance for the River Ranch campground. Looks like somebody has their scooter out here now. And they also have stalls here for horses and a larger parking area over here, I guess if you were pulling a trailer for the horses also. And right over there in the distance, that also hooks up to the Blue Trail. It's just off trail here, maybe a few hundred yards. But this is the entrance to the River Ranch campground. I don't know how many people they let stay here at a time, but you can't drive right to the campsite. You have to hike in. I'd say it looks like it's about a 50 to 75 yard hike back to the camping area. And these are all primitive, so bring your toilet paper with you and something to dig a little cat hole if you're camping out here. So there's no restroom facilities. You have to pack in everything, including your firewood. They don't want you using the local wood, even if it's fallen down. I'll try to get in this video pictures of all the campgrounds, and I'll show you what they include here. Obviously, you can set your tents up in this area. There is some shade here, and there's not a whole lot of shade in this whole park. So they provide you with a picnic table here, which I guess is shared with anybody else that would be camping here. And they have a fire ring here. But like I said, you have to pack in your own wood. Probably about a 75 yard walk from your car. So that's a River Range campground. I'll pick it back up when we're parked at the trailhead and getting ready to hike. Okay, we just exited my truck and we're looking towards the trail. This is the entrance. This is the direction you would go if you wanted to walk the trail in a clockwise loop, which would be opposite of the numbers, the mile markers on the trail. So you would go, from 9 to 8 to 7 and so forth. My favorite way to enter the trail is across this way and go right through the woods, or enter the woods here, where you'll see this sign for a picnic table and pavilion. On the right here, you have I think the only picnic table with the pavilion in the park section of near the Blue Trail. I'm not aware of any others that actually have that. They also have a grill here. So if you wanted to come out here and make a day of it and just hike a portion of the trail and then have a little picnic here, you have to bring your charcoal, but there is a grill and picnic tables and a pavilion. I like to enter this trail here on the Alligator Link, which will hook up with the main trail in about a half mile. The main trail is just a little to the left, but this gives you an interesting hike along a creek. A lot of it's in the shade. It's kind of nice, and I enjoy it. Now, if you want to just walk on the main trail and not use the Alligator Link, and you want to walk in a counterclockwise direction around the loop, which is the way it's numbered on the mile markers, you park there and you walk down this dirt road for about 100 yards. And this is where it all starts for the Blue Trail. There's your first blue blaze on a pine tree. So again, we're moving down the Alligator Link. Trail's well marked. Very easy to follow. The reason this is one of my favorite parts of this trail, and the reason I usually start on this link, is because there's shade here. There's a little water. And I love the old oak trees with the Spanish moss and so forth. There's a lot of that on this part of the trail. There's not much of that on the rest of the trail. Actually, most of this trail is out in the sun with very little shade. But I like the more forested type look that you get from this link trail. And now we're hooking up with the main trail. And along the main trail, you won't have that black lines through the blue there. If we had come in the main trail, we would have come in this way. And now we'll be hooking up with the main trail and going this way. Alligator link's pretty well posted. It's only a short half-mile link off the trail, and it really doesn't make it any longer. You're just running parallel to the main trail. Then you hook back up with it. So on the main trail now, and off we go. So still hiking along the blue trail. I think we're less than a mile in. And this is where the first, other than the alligator link that I walked in the beginning, this is where your next link comes off. I've walked this link before, and it's really not much different than the main trail. It kind of runs in and parallel to it. This is the Cat Face Trail. 1.7 miles. Something else to mention about this whole hike. Remember, you're out in the sun for most of this. It's not bad today. It's about 70, so for me, that's cool in Florida. But a lot of it's sandy. Doesn't bother me. I don't get anything. But if I was interested in the trail for bicycles, this would not be my choice. Especially the first 4 or 5 miles of this trail. On the other side of the loop, it's nowhere near as sandy as this. But I can't imagine trying to ride a bike through here unless you have pistons for legs. This is mostly like a long leaf pine prairie type area. You see a lot of it in Florida. There's been a lot of controlled burns out here. They try to keep the undergrowth down. And you can see some of the black spots on the trees, black markings on the bottoms of the trees. This is marsh link. That cat face link that we passed before kind of just goes off to the right and around this way. So it's over there about a quarter mile. This marsh link just cuts over to it if you wanted to take that way. There's nothing different to see there than what you're going to see on this trail. So still moving along the blue trail. If you start at the main trailhead like we did, or very close to the main trailhead like we did, they have markers. The 2 indicates that you're 2 miles into the 10-mile loop. And once again, don't feel like you have to walk 10 miles to come do this trail. Obviously, I'm 2 miles in. If I wanted to turn around now and just go back the way I came, I'll have walked 4 miles. So I didn't see the mile marker for number 1, but it's possible I just missed it. All right, so now I don't know, maybe 2.5 miles into the trail from the trailhead. And here's where it branches off. And that cat link that I talked about earlier that was paralleling this is where it comes back up and rejoins. Now down this trail, I'll ballpark it at between 1/4 and 1/3 of a mile, is the Mullet camp where you can camp. But you have to hike everything in. Now you don't have to hike from where I started, 2.5 miles back. There was another parking lot over here where the road, the dirt path coming in ends. And you can park your car there. I'll take you down and get this Mullet Mullet camp video, and the canoe landing and launch. This is as far back as the road goes on the trail. The last parking spot is far in. And the blue trail crosses right through it, as you can see by the markers on the poles. Sign telling you that the canoe landing and Mullet camp are down there, but no vehicle access. So it's a good way to huff a canoe too. So I did hike down from the parking lot after all towards the Mullet primitive camp area. And now that I'm actually walking it instead of going by memory, I'd say it's at least a half mile, maybe closer to 3/4 of a mile. Once again, quite a hike if you're packing like for a few days where you might be taking a 6-person tent and things like that. Okay, now we're back in very close to the primitive camp area known as the Mullet. There's also an old foundation back here, which they tell you about on the kiosk or on the website for the park. And that these houses, there were a few of them back here, and most of them are from the early 1900s or the late 1800s. So this is the Mullet camp area, which is my favorite because of shade and the fact that you're close to the water. There's not many room for many tents back here, but so it wouldn't be suitable for a larger group. I think that's tree frog areas where the people go with larger groups. Looks like there's some leftover firewood already here, which would be nice if you were camping here and you had to pack in your firewood. Now, it's just a very short walk now over to the canoe launch from here. So if you wanted to come back here for the weekend, camp, and take your canoe or kayak out, this is the place to be. Oh, there's a Twin Otter. The Havilland Twin Otter aircraft. It's got no door on the back, and the reason for that is the airplane that Skydive Sebastian uses and all their jumpers jump out of. This is the only guy I've seen all day today out here riding his bike on the trail. Now the trail is pretty sandy and some of it's sugary sand. He said he pedals through a lot of it, but if it gets too soft, he just walks his bike through that section. Canoe launch, not bad. Good canoeing. I've paddled up here frequently. I wouldn't say frequently. I've done it though several times. In the colder months, you'll see a lot of manatee up here, and alligators are not uncommon. But this river, it does eventually hook up with the Indian River Lagoon and then out through Sebastian Inlet to the ocean. It's a great kayaking area. Oh, that's it. All right, so I just left the canoe launch, and I look up, and there's skydivers everywhere. So I'm trying to get around this tree to see them. I didn't think with this east wind today you would see much in the way of skydivers. Well, I'm just catching the last ones going over the tree line there. But with the wind going the other way, I'm sure they'd be right over the park here. And anyway, there were at least a dozen of them that had jumped out of that plane. Oh, here was that Twin Otter going around. He went in the land earlier, so for some reason he must have gone around. Or did a touch and go. Oh, he's on his way back in the land again. You see, it's the jump plane, the door's off. All right, and that's it for right now. So we're still hiking on the Cat's Face Link, which is paralleling the main trail at this point. And you can always tell if you're on the main trail or a link, because the blue blades will have a black stripe through it. All right, so I'm hiking along this Cat's Face trail, and I'd say 30 to 40 yards in front of me, a large doe just came out. There goes another one. That's the second one that crossed in front of me. Off the main blue trail, only a few hundred yards past where that deer just ran across the trail in front of me. And you come down to a little creek with a bridge across it. Now, considering how dry it is, there's quite a bit of water still. All right, so I'm at the far back of the park now, getting ready to continue this blue trail hike. I'm as far back as you can go on the paved road. Well, I guess it's not actually paved, but as far back as you can drive. And this is the canoe landing and Mullet camp parking area. There's nobody else here, and this is a Sunday. I mean, it's a beautiful day. It's 77 degrees out, and it's partly cloudy. Right now I'm hiking with the trail with a my Osprey backpack, and the reason I'm hiking with a 20-pound backpack instead of just a day pack is, you know, I'm training for a longer hike, and I'm going in this September for about 480 miles across the north of Spain called the Camino de Santiago. So I'm trying to get some trail legs and build a little strength, and I'll have to carry my pack on that trip. So off we go, and I'll shoot some more video down the way. All right, so hiking along the trail. Where we got on the trail was about mile marker 2.5 at the Mullet. So I've only gone about a half mile, but I just wanted to show you that they do have these markers. Yesterday, when I was out here hiking, I was not able to find the number 1 marker, so that might be missing, or I might have just missed it. But so far the trail's pretty much the same as it is on the other side of the Mullet camp. Maybe a little bit less sandy as far as really loose sand. So I think people with bicycles would probably prefer this side. You are allowed to have dogs out here as long as they're on a leash. It's supposed to be a 6 foot or less leash. Once people get away from the main roads, I do frequently see people who have well-behaved dogs just running loose with them, which I have no problem with. I love dogs. Anyway, I'll back at you in a bit. All right, so moving along the trail, it does join up with this dirt road, which I don't think has any public access. It's for the park and their staff. And you're not on this road that long. There are some cattle in the park here, and they're all fenced off. You never have to walk amongst the cattle. I don't actually see any out there today, but I have seen them out here in the past. There's some sort of fish actually swimming around in this water here, probably about 12 inches long. I don't know if they'll show up on the video or not. He's right down there, just left of that board. Lots of buzzards. All right, so we're a little further down the trail, and there's a deer just off to the left. I can see him moving around. He's got to know I'm here. The wind's blowing directly at him from behind me. He's about 60, 70 yards up there. So I know he'll spook, but I'm just going to walk toward him slowly, and maybe he'll pull across the road in front of us. And once again, that makes every time I come out here, I've seen deer. Yeah, he's looking right at me. He knows I'm here for sure. I don't know why he's not bolting already. Oh, there he goes. Yeah, you might be able to see him in the distance there moving. He just stopped and turned around looking at me. He's about 100 yards, 120 yards away. But there must be a lot of deer back here because I see them every time I come. So I'm walking along the trail, and a deer just bolted in front of me, maybe a quarter mile back. But I couldn't get the video camera out quite in time, and he was quick. So walking along here, I'm approaching the trail, and I see this green snake. Looks like a little grass snake. And he's sitting here on the trail. He doesn't seem particularly concerned about me. Just out here getting some sun. It is an absolutely beautiful day out here. No threat of rain, but it is probably at least partly cloudy. Nice breeze, probably a 10 to 12 knot breeze, which is keeping me cool. But hiking this trail when it's bright and sunny out, especially in the summer, and especially if you're only carrying a day pack, would be to bring an umbrella with you. Good idea. I mean, if it's not too windy or it gets inverted or anything, keep yourself in the shade, and certainly sunscreen is a must. And so hiking along, we're still along that the dirt road. We're now at mile marker 5. If there was a mile marker 4, I missed it. So I saw 3, I saw 5, and I know 2 is there. I didn't see 1 or 4 over the last couple days hiking out here. So this is, hi, how you doing?
Good.
Some people out here riding their big fat tired bikes on these roads, which makes it probably easier in this soft sand. Hi, how are you? All right, this looks like it's where you get off the road and you're back on more of a trail, 2-track. You see the trail markers up ahead where the people riding their bikes, they came from further down the road. I don't know if you'll be able to see it off in the distance. There's a levee. It looks like it's a half-mile away or so, and that would be the levee at the C-54 canal. But Blue Trail was pretty well marked. And here's where I'm off of that dirt road and onto this 2-track. All right, so we're after that 5-mile marker, but I haven't seen a 6 yet. And we're coming up to a fork in the trail. It's pretty well marked. And that is an eagle link. That means it's not the main trail. And you see the horizontal black line through the blue blaze at the top. Now, I think this eagle link trail is one way in, one way out. So I think the 2 miles is the round trip, but I'm not certain. So if you wanted to add 2 miles on your hike, you could go in there, turn around and come back. All right, moving along. We're now at mile marker 6. So as we're moving along the trail here, you come up to this lake. The trail is wrapping around. Looks like it'd be pretty awesome for birding. I just did see a big blue heron just took off. I don't know if you'll be able to tell, but I'd say it's 3/4 of a mile over there through the trees. I can occasionally see traffic. That's I-95. So you're not too far away from the highway here. So we're a little farther along the trail now, coming up to a post. It looks like it has marker number 7, mile marker 7. It's more of a pine wood and palmetto forest here, as opposed to the other side of the loop, which is, I don't know how to word it, more of a longleaf flatwoods or something like that. It's like more of a prairie over there. Here, this has more of a forest feel to it. The trail's not quite as sandy. It's the dry season, but I can see that that area in there obviously holds water during the wet season. So just taking a break. I think I'm between almost to mile marker 8. Just taking a short 10-minute break to eat a protein bar and drink some water. So you can see the trail behind me, pretty much cutting through slash pine woods. So I'm gonna take about 5 minutes and then I'll be back on the trail again. All right, coming farther along the trail, and looks like they have a little bridge here to go across this creek. Horses not recommended. I guess horses get to go through the water. But what I'm showing you now is, this is where the tree frog campsite is. That's the last one that I haven't shown you of the 3 that are in this southeastern quadrant of this park. So you can see it's about 4/10 of a mile off of the Blue Trail. But they do have a marked link trail to get you over to the Blue Trail here, if you wanted to camp here and hike. It's a parking lot. And then the entrance is here to the Tree Frog Camp. They do have a bulletin board here with a map of the entire park, and then we're in this section down here. And in particular, we're at the Tree Frog Camp, which is right here. It's got the Blue Trail marked on there. And I'll show you the actual campsite. It's about a 50-yard walk from the car, so it's not too far to have to carry your gear in to this campsite. It's primitive camping once again. No restroom facilities or running water. You have to pack in everything, including firewood, but they do provide you with a picnic table and some benches around the fire ring. All right, so we're still on the trail, and earlier in this video I think I had you at the tree frog camp, and I told you there was a spur that came off the camp to join the trail if you were camping there. And this is it right here. So the tree frog link is 0.4 miles to that camp. Recommended for bicycling or hiking. But we're going to continue on to the trail end and not take that link right now. It says I'm coming up right now to also mile marker 9. There was no mile marker 8, I don't believe. I don't remember seeing a mile marker 8, so that's not there. All right, coming up to the very end of the trail now, and that parking lot ahead where it looks like a red van and another vehicle are parked is the trailhead that most people use. And you can see it straight ahead. There is a little branch off here to the right. That goes down to the River Ranch campground. It's only a couple hundred yards difference between where the trail ends. But over there, I think that's considered the equestrian entry because they have stalls for horses and larger parking area where, like, if you were towing a horse trailer. River Ranch campground is right beside that also. That's my recap of the St. Sebastian River Preserve, the southeast quadrant, and the blue trail that's in there. If you like the video, please subscribe to my channel. Give me a thumbs up. And what's coming up in the future on my YouTube channel will be other trails that are within the other sections of the preserve. I'll recap those. I'm also going to do some other smaller trails in the Sebastian area. I intend to do a section hike on the Appalachian Trail this summer. I'll post that. And I'm also going to do some section hiking on the Florida Trail. And then, of course, in September, I'll be doing the Camino Frances Trail, which is part of the Camino de Santiago, across northern Spain, about 480 miles, and I'll document that as well. I'll put out some gear videos on that before I go. So subscribe if you liked it, and I hope you did. Oh, one more thing. I do want to say thanks to all the workers at the St. Sebastian River Preserve. Thanks for all the trail maintenance that you do. I know that I appreciate it. I'm sure a lot of people do.